is Jenny, and I'm a wife and mom raising 2 kids. But I used to live a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I said goodbye to TV and hello to motherhood, I suddenly discovered what we moms are up against. We live in a world that tells us to be rich and famous, thin and successful. You know, almost nobody says, "Oh, hey, you're a mom? That's fabulous." But you are fabulous, and I'm here to tell you why.
It's the Channelmom Show, celebrating you with Jenny Dean Schmidt.
Coming up right now, Karen Kropf is program developer and founder of Positively Waiting, which is a nonprofit dedicated to promoting the benefits of sexual self-control. Karen has been passionately exposing lies about sex, love, and relationships since 1998. Each year, thousands of teens in public schools, youth groups, and juvenile detention facilities hear Karen and her husband, Jim, explain how their decisions to be sexually active as teens led to permanent consequences as adults. But their story has a happy ending, and Karen is going to tell us about it right now. Karen, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Jenny. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm going to warn our listeners that you're going to be talking about a sensitive but very important subject today, and you are going to try to tone down the language as much as you can. I know that, but we may not want little ones listening to what you have to say today. But we do definitely want mommies to hear it, right?
Absolutely.
Very briefly, Karen, you do have a heart-wrenching story, which you shared with me, that led to your passion to help teens who are facing that decision whether or not to have sex. Please, briefly tell our audience about your story and what led you to the place that you're at today.
Okay. I started having sex at 15 and dated the same guy all through high school in a relationship that we thought was going to go somewhere, and I was a straight-A student. All kinds of good things looked like this relationship was healthy, but when I got pregnant, he abandoned me, and I made a decision at that time, without talking to anyone who cared about me, not to have the baby, without realizing that was going to lead to some other consequences in my life. And I continued to be sexually active until I was about 31 years old, but I got repeatedly infected with sexually transmitted infections, in particular chlamydia, which ultimately meant that, for me, the story that I share with teens now is that I chose to terminate the only baby that I would ever have. I married an amazing man in 2001 who shares his story as well with the teens, and that is that he was, Mr. Condom Safety Guy. Never failed to use protection from the time he was 17, and then found out that he was infected with herpes. So in falling in love with me and sitting down, looking across the table from me, saying, "I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, but if you marry me, I cannot protect you from what's wrong with me." So what we do is we talk to young people, in particular teenagers and preteens, about the decisions that we made at 15, 17, we didn't realize would mean that one day we would be sharing. Those decisions live with us now. I'm infected with herpes, and we don't have any live children.
Right. And you had to tell your husband that you could not bear children for him because of your sexual past.
Exactly. Actually, it was a condition of dating me because I had already so much rejection. I actually wouldn't go out with someone who hadn't seen me do a classroom presentation, since it's so hard to tell the story.
Sure.
I just, "Look, you want to go out with me? Fine. Come and see. This is what I do." And And he cried through the whole thing and said, "I think you're an amazing woman, and you're parenting 10,000 kids a year. That's enough of being a dad for me."
Yeah. Well, God bless you for it.
Thank you.
Tell me the most dangerous myths that you think that society feeds to our teenagers when it comes to sex, because I know that a lot of moms just throw up their hands and say, "What, are you kidding? Of course my kid's going to have sex. It's what everyone's telling them to do, and it is what it is, and it's probably not going to hurt them." And so what are the big myths out there that we feed our teenagers?
Well, the first and most dangerous one is that there is such a thing as safe sex. Even if they don't get pregnant or infected, which with teenagers is very likely, but even if they manage to dodge those bullets, there are emotional consequences, bonds that last for a lifetime. People who begin sexual activity as teenagers have sometimes an average of 15 sexual partners before they find the person they want to spend their life with. That's 15 times they've had their heart broken. The trusting mechanism, the bonding mechanism isn't effective.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be real about protection. I mean, come on. Kids use protection the way they clean their rooms. It's totally inconsistent. And unless protection is 100% perfect, which they can't even record in adults, there's no way that you're not going to end up with some kids being pregnant or infected. Infection rates among, adolescents is sky high. The failure rate, meaning someone got pregnant with condom use, is about 1 in 3 teens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 30% of teenagers trying not to get pregnant in the first year.
Right.
Those are some pretty big myths.
Right. And I just want to say, pregnancy, this always breaks my heart, because pregnancy in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's just when it's being treated willy-nilly, like, oops, and then people get rid of it, or the father doesn't stay around, and that's when it becomes a sad situation,
And of course, nobody wants their child to derail all of their dreams. That's crazy. Of course we don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
And yet sometimes I've seen parents emphasize protection to the degree that it's almost as if I want to avoid the physical complications in our lives, in mom and dad's life. And really and truly, I know that's not what parents want. They want their kids to make good, healthy, strong decisions and be able to bond faithfully for a lifetime. And to some degree, that means they have to learn how to control their passion.
Right. I mean, I know people that just automatically would put their 15-year-old girls on the pill, just thinking, throwing up their hands and saying, there's no way we're going to stop it, so we're just going to do it, rather than having that talk about the value of herself and her sexuality and why there's a reason to save herself and treat herself in a certain, it was just so much easier just to throw them on the pill. And that made me sad for that relationship.
Absolutely.
And I understand, I think I read a statistic just the other day that 1 in 4 teenage girls now has an STD. Is that correct?
Yes, that was a study that was done just a couple of years ago, and they found that even without knowing that they were infected, because sexually transmitted diseases most of the time have no symptoms, they found that girls were infected not only vaginally but also orally. I mean, human papillomavirus has now outpaced smoking as the leading cause of oral cancer.
Wow.
Ew. Yes.
Yeah. This is why I warned our listeners today, because this is tough stuff, I want to say this, because I just want to throw it out there. The abstinence message has been relegated to the corner, Karen. And I mean, people, it has. People sort of laugh about offering the message to teens because they think it's kind of for unrealistic church ladies. Why would you say that your abstinence message is different?
Well, first, because I'd never use the word abstinence. Abstinence has gotten a bad rap. And when you talk about abstinence, then kids think you're saying, okay, don't. And their next question is, but what can I do? So what I am talking to teens about is controlling their passion. It's a wonderful, glorious, fabulous thing. I want them to look forward to great sex. I don't want them to be afraid of it. But I know that sex makes people stupid. Title for a great book.
Yes, you've
I'm
written.
just saying that they are going to be able to control it and make better decisions in the same way that we teach them to control their anger, in the same way that we teach teens to control their eating. I mean, we're asking them to recognize food is a good thing, passion is a good thing, but it has to be controlled so it doesn't run your life. Teen culture says, if you feel like it, then do it. And we know that's not healthy for them in any way. I tell teens, look, there are no benefits to being sexually active as an adolescent. There are none. It causes emotional issues. You're more likely to take risks in other kinds of behavior. If you can learn to control that, then you are going to be more focused on the things that will get you where you want to go in life. And then you will have that passion for the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. The question is, do you care enough not only about yourself, about the people around you to say, I'm not going to let my needs actually ruin your life. I'm not going to use you to get my needs met. And teens respond to that kind of a challenge in a very positive way. Yeah, and the concern I have is that, and I was too, that you're so bombarded with the opposite message. I mean, really about 95% of what you're hearing is, it's all good, go have some fun, and it'll work out. And so you're really... But be safe.
Yeah, yes.
As if you can.
Yes. And the whole safety thing, attached to that incredible act, it makes me sad, because then you take something out of it, and the fact that it is actually attached to life, and Yeah, it's just all very sad. And something that I want to give as a boon to parents, and you probably know more about this stat than I do. I understand that if a parent is just willing to sit down and talk about it and say, hey, look, this is how I feel about you doing this, and this is what it could do to your life, and this is what I would suggest for you not to do because I want what's best for you. And it's just like teaching a kid how to exercise. It's the same kind of disciplinary suggestion, I understand that
this is how I present it to parents, and it seems to make sense. If I say to you, Jenny, don't sit there, you have no idea where I want you to go. Mm-hmm. But if I say, look, Jenny, the chair that you're sitting in, it's not very comfortable. I think you need to be able to put your feet up. I want you to have good lighting. I want you to, be able to be comfortable and relaxed so you can stay focused on what you're doing. I'm giving you specific positive goal and direction. Mm-hmm. What we tend to do is say, don't have sex. Mm-hmm. And yet, we're not acknowledging, oh my gosh, those feelings are so powerful. They scramble your brains. When I first saw your father, oh my gosh, I couldn't think straight. Yeah. And instead of telling them this is normal, it's expected, you will have sexual attraction even after you get married to the love of your life, there's nothing wrong with it. But it can derail your life if you are not thinking straight. It's wonderful and powerful, and it's a great part of life, but it's another one of those things you have to control.
Well, and the point I was going to get to is that the kids, it's shown that if the parent's just willing to say how they feel about it and the suggestion they would give to the child, the kids will actually listen to that.
Kids say that number one reason that they choose not to have sex is because their parents' influence in their life.
Right, I know. And
even as teenagers.
And parents give up on that. They think, oh, forget it. There's just no way I can convince them. And I don't think most parents, like you say in the book, did you really mean to raise a sexually active teen? I don't think most parents really want to do that, but they throw their hands up. What they don't recognize is if they just say something to that child, statistics show the child will actually listen.
Exactly. The problem is that, of course, as a parent, and I totally understand this, the problem is that a parent is thinking, well, my child's not ready for sex. I'll wait until they're interested in boys, or I'll wait until they're interested in girls. Mm-hmm. And then the season is past because now that child is going to have more influence. But if you start when they're young, I don't mean, explaining the whole sex thing, but just, wow, one day there's going to be so much passion in your life. This is going to be an important thing for you. I can't wait for us to talk about it, and you'll understand how wonderful it is when that day comes. And you give them those kinds of, I'm going to be your source, your best source for good information. You establish that relationship, and you're thinking in terms, I'm not just raising a child, I am raising an adult. As you are preparing them for that season, then when they start going through all of the chaos and the confusion of those powerful hormones, you're still someone that they will listen to.
Right, because you started early and you made it sound like a great thing that you can help them with. Yeah, absolutely. It's a positive thing instead of a negative thing, the way in which you approach it. We have about a minute left. Can you just tell people how to contact you, how to get a hold of your book, and so on, so they can then do more research on this? Because you've given them some great tips.
The book is available on Amazon and at my website, positively.waiting.com, all one word, positively.waiting.com. And my last name is Kropf, so that's P like Paul, F like Frank. It actually means big neck, and when you see a picture of my husband, you'll know why it means big neck. So, and then I've also written a book for singles called Sex Makes People Stupid, How to Avoid Ending Up with a Weenie. Yeah. And you can contact me at positively.waiting.com.
Awesome, Karen. You've been wonderful. I really appreciate the advice you have to give, and you just go, girl.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
God bless you. You too. Take care. Bye-bye. You are listening to the Channel Mom Show, where we are celebrating you on Mile High Sports Radio, AM 1510, FM 93.7. I really hope that last guest helped you. I'm your host, Jenny Dean Schmidt. You can also watch us during the week on channelmom.com or come chat with us about today's show topics. And facebook.com/channelmom is where we are on Facebook. And we have a gift for every mother in our next segment. This woman is fabulous and just about to release an amazing book about what you can do, really do. She's got great steps to stop the stress in your life. I need that. Coming up, best-selling author Lauren Miller.